You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing, daily, hopefully. Hello, you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For whatever reason, it's emergency podcast time today. And I've decided to give up asking questions from Richard Herring's Leicester Square Theatre Podcast Emergency Questions app, purely because an awful lot of the time the questions are too filthy for me to feel comfortable answering. I'm not a prude. I've got a highly depraved sense of humour, and I don't find the questions offensive at all, but I worry about what the people listening might think of me if I giggle like a child and answer some of those questions. So I won't be doing that anymore. Toblerone. So here, instead, I am going to do some random questions off the internet. I've not used this app before, so they might be good, they may be rubbish. So let's press start to begin. When did you first get on the internet? That's a good one. So when my parents split up in, I think it was the late 90s. No, I finished school in 91, didn't I? So it was 92, 93, and my dad moved to a different place and he had the internet. So I remember using it there. And then the following year, sort of 94, I started university, and they had internet in the university library, and I used to use it to research things. I was never really into all the message boards and chat boards and stuff. I did use it to find out news about things like Star Trek and stuff like that. Because there were Star Trek TV shows in production at the time, Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and yeah, I used it for stuff like that. And I think I don't think I had an email address until 2000, when I actually got a home internet sort of set up. And that was the first year I used internet shopping. There was a website called blackstar.com, which was one of the very early DVD places that you could buy stuff. And I remember buying, I can't remember what I bought from there, but I had a multi-region DVD player, which I also bought that year. And I would regularly buy stuff from America as well. One of the first DVDs I owned, not the very first, but one of the first was, I believe, the Region 1, so the American version of Galaxy Quest. Anyway, so yeah. What do I think of modern art? Not an awful lot, but then I suppose it depends. I mean, anything's modern art, isn't it? Music. An album that was released last week is modern art of a type. Books are modern art. Cinema is modern art. So if you go down that route, there are some aspects of it I absolutely love. But if what you mean is half a cow in formaldehyde, or a picture by Banksy that destroys itself in a shredder built into it, yeah, it's all right. Take it or leave it. Are you good at managing your time? I go through phases. It depends on where my mental health is at the time. So if my mental health is good, I can be very good at managing my time. And when it's not, I'm not. And I think it's also reflected at work. I'm much better at managing my time at work than I am my personal life. I swing wildly between very organised and highly disorganised. I'm sort of somewhere in the middle at the moment. I'm a bit of an upswing, having been very disorganised recently. It's sort of vaguely heading the right way in my head at the moment. So I've been worse, we'll put it that way. What was the last book you read? Well, I've talked an awful lot about books on here. It was Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. I really enjoyed it. The next one in the series is Lords and Ladies, but it will be next year before I read that because I have some other things to read in the meantime. What was the first single or album that you bought? I actually remember both. So the first single that I bought was Bright Eyes by Art Garfunkel, which was the song used, I believe, in the Watership Down animated movie from either the late 70s or early 80s. Then I can't remember what order I bought them in after that, but then there were some others that I bought. So, for example, I definitely had I Don't Like Mondays by Boomtown Rats. That was a very early single that I bought. I definitely bought This Old House by Shaking Stevens. I really liked that as a kid. And there was one more, and I'm trying to remember what it was. There was another one that I really liked that was an early single of mine, but I can't remember what it was. But you've got the main three. How are we doing for time? Oh, God, we're doing very well. Okay, these are good, aren't they? When you eat in a restaurant, do you order something new or something you know you like? Again, that depends on where I am and what I'm doing. So, for example, if I go to Wagamama, I tend to go with an old favourite. I do like their katsu curry. When I go to like a restaurant I haven't been to before, I'm prepared to be a lot more experimental. And I went with a friend recently to a Korean barbecue in London, and it was absolutely amazing. And I would have tried anything off that menu. And what we had was wonderful, and I would happily have more. What's my favourite dish? I can't answer that because it totally depends where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm with. I like a lot of food. I'm not the thinnest person in the world. So that's not really one I can answer. Do you watch, and this is the last one I'm going to answer, do you watch any reality TV shows? I watch one, and I've been a sucker for this one for pretty much since it started, and that's Big Brother. I don't know why I like it. I know sometimes it can be lowest common denominator television, but just the idea of chucking these complete strangers together and seeing what happens, and then nominating each other out, I just find totally fascinating. I do enjoy it. I much prefer the non-celebrity editions of Big Brother, and I also much prefer the English version of the game. So there is a version that other countries have done, notably America, Canada, and recently Australia. None of it's based on audience participation. So the whole series is recorded, effectively it's recorded and then released like a regular TV show. So they still set challenges, but the house determines who gets chucked out. So you can literally record the whole thing and nobody knows who won. Australia are an interesting one because they started with a format exactly the same as ours. In fact, it's very watchable, the Australian Big Brother. It's as watchable as ours is. And then they moved to the American format, and it wasn't as successful. And they've actually announced that Big Brother Australia will be back using the original format where the viewers get to to vote who gets to leave. So I am looking forward to that, and I will probably watch it next year. Big Brother Australia. What a sad man. I'll be back at some point tomorrow with something hopefully less pre-recorded. Take care. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my Linktree at linktr.ee/Richard Wright, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.